Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton and welcome back to my YouTube channel, My Noahide Family. Don't forget to subscribe and you're more than welcome to leave a comment. Tick the like sign. Well, this is Women of Wisdom, and today I want to just talk about the strength and wisdom of women in general, which we're not contesting that by any means. But I guess today I'm really thinking about women. We don't want to waste our spiritual ammunition on a foolish cause or something that's unnecessary. So our spiritual ammunition it's really important to us, and we draw on that in all sorts of difficulties and times in our life without realizing it. And so I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we go through. So I also want to refer to a book I'm using, and also a verse in Proverbs. Now, this book I'm using today is called Women's Wisdom, The Garden of Peace for Women. Now, just as a side note here, I have been asked to recommend some books that are suitable for Noahide women or for any women. And so this is one that I strongly recommend. Now, bear in mind that this is mainly was written for Jewish women, but there are so many things in this that apply to us as Noahides in the framework of how we conduct our life, staying on target, being a righteous individual, what's our role, etc., to be and to remain a righteous individual. So this is one of the books that I strongly recommend for women. Also, there's a book over my shoulder here called The Garden of Emmuna, and that is another book that I strongly recommend. It has some wonderful, wonderful things in there that women can gain knowledge and comfort and spiritual insight from. Now, both of those are written by Rabbi Shalom, Arush, Arush, and of course translated by Rabbi Lazer, Brody. I'll leave a description of this in the description box below for you. So that's just a side note. But inside this book, I want to concentrate on chapter 45, which is called The True Mission. Now, I've read this a few times and made myself a few notes, so I will swap around a few things here. But this Proverbs is Proverbs number 14, and it's verse 1. And it's written on the inside flyleaf of this. It says, King Solomon said, women's wisdom built her home. The wisdom of a woman is the cornerstone and foundation of her home. Women's wisdom encompasses many types of wisdom. The wisdom of building herself, her spirituality, and the health of her soul, and the wisdom of building her husband and children. This wisdom is an eternal asset that a woman passes on to subsequent generations. The theme of women's wisdom built her home permeates every page of this book. Some of you that have been watching my videos for a while know I often refer to this. It's kind of a go-to place if I'm lacking a bit of inspiration or something like that. So let's just read this verse in Proverbs chapter 14, and it's verse 1, and I'll just read it. It says, the wise among women each builds her house, but a foolish one, pages aren't turning, but a foolish one tears it down with her hands. Now, this is, there's an explanation for this, so I'll just very briefly read it. It says, The wise among women each builds her house. Now note the unusual plural form here. It is because of such women that their homes endure. An example is a wife that, is concentrates on the things that she has to do, whether it be in or outside the home. It goes on and says the wife is a builder of the home. And further to that, you can look this up for yourself and read it. The next verse says, but a foolish one tears it down with her hands. Now this verse alludes to Korach's wife who encouraged him to defy Moses. And a lot of you will know that story. You can go and look that up. And also says that skepticism destroys what wisdom builds. And, we often see that just in everyday things. So it goes on and says, a wise woman can rebuild her house even if it was destroyed through her husband's wickedness. Conversely, though her house is well established and her husband is righteous, her foolishness can also tear it down. So there we go there with that. But again, I'll leave that link in the description box below for you. Now let's move back on here now where it says this chapter 45 in this book is called The True Mission. And I'm reading some selected bits out of it because I don't want to deviate too far from the script in case I lose some of the pertinent things that I think are really important here. So it says, every woman of this present generation has already attained her tikkun. Now, what does that mean? Tikkun is a word that means our soul correction. Now, let me just pause here. Now, some of you that have been watching my videos for some time will already know this, but there is a Jewish belief and philosophy on reincarnation. So, and it is said, and I'm not going to come into foolish argument over this with other people, so I firmly believe this to be true. Now, it is said that some of us would be on our second or third soul already. So again, we have to often think, well, are we nearing end times? And one would have to wonder about in light of the recent upheaval that continues in Israel as we speak. They're reminders of us of how fragile life is, and they'd give us a shake-up, and so they should. However, let's get back to the soul correction. So we are told that we come, we sent back because there's something we have to do to correct our soul. We're on a mission. So we must understand that we're brought down into this material world as women for the sake of our family and our soul correction. So, moving on here, it says, many contemporary women have neglected their true mission. They simply have not accomplished what they were sent here to do. This is remindful. I want to read this because I think I feel fits in nicely. We are to be mindful of the Czech national folk anti-hero, a soldier named Shveyk, S-H-V-E-Y-K, Shveyk. I'm pronouncing it possibly incorrectly. Now, this gentleman is sent on a fateful mission to capture a hill, but he captures the wrong hill. He returns to base expecting parades and medals, but gets thrown into the brink instead. He wasted all his ammunition on the wrong target. And I want to read this bit here. Imagine coming to the heavenly court with a long list of achievements after your 120 or so years on this earth. The heavenly tribunal informs you that you did nice things, but none of them had anything to do with your true mission on this earth. You wasted your ammunition, your talents, and aptitudes on the wrong target. Hence my reference to, particularly for women, let's not waste our spiritual ammo. We might need it. Don't shoot it off all at once. So let's go on here now and look at this true mission that every woman has. So we're going to look at what that is. Well, some women spend hours praying and reciting psalms, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not a good idea when it's at the neglect of other things. And so what does Hashem truly want or expect from us as women? I'm talking now as righteous women, as Gentile women. Well, I'm just going to remind you about the story of the two midwives, and some of you would remember this. Yocheved and Miriam were midwives who saved the Jewish babies in Egypt. The Torah calls them Shifra and Puah, P-U-A-H. Shifra was Yocheved, called so because she beautified the newborn infant. Now that means she would have cleansed it, swaddled it, taken care of all that necessary thing at the point of birth. And Puah was Miriam, called so because she cooed to the newborn infant in the manner of women who soothe a crying infant. It's one of the nicest things I think I've ever read that. It explains it beautifully, doesn't it? And if you think about it, that is something that all women seem to naturally do, isn't it? You're always cooing and rocking and, that nurturing. At first glance, it may seem illogical that these women's names were changed to names indicative of their activities as midwives. The most praiseworthy attributes of these two biblical heroines are their good-heartedness and devoted, loving care of thousands of infants. Thanks be to God. Midwives comforting the newborns. So at this point, you're noticing that there are things that we do well and things that we should do well and things that we continue to do well throughout our life without sometimes understanding or realising it. So let's carry on here. So this is what makes us a good mother as well, that there are things, we coo and nurture and clean the child when it's a baby and rear it and teach it how to hold a knife and fork, all those things. You can think of 100 things that you teach your children in those first 2 years. And sometimes it doesn't come easy. You've got to keep repeating it. So now we go on. I want to talk about a story here. This is the Armed Forces of Spirituality. Again, I call this spiritual ammo. A woman's home should resemble an army. Each soldier has his own task and mission to accomplish. The army's goal is to subdue evil and help righteousness prevail. Hashem is the commander-in-chief. The husband is the commander of the combat troops, and his wife commands all the support forces. Now, that is put beautifully, isn't it? Think of your household a little bit like a company of soldiers of an army. The wife also has her role to fulfill. Incidentally, she raises and educates the children while being a wonderful role model for them. It goes on and says she is naturally blessed with a strong sense of Emmuna. Now, that we've discussed Emmuna and women before, so I won't dwell on that right now. You all probably know very well what I'm talking about. So let's put this in a different sort of framework now. We're going to look at, I just won't want to lose my place. Now, the husband is a spiritual fighter pilot who must win war against his evil inclination. The wife is a support force on the ground. Without her, he is grounded and they lose the war. Since her job exempts her from the obligations to study Torah and perform the time-related mitzvahs, and remember this primarily was written for Jewish women, but let's continue on here. The spiritual frontline jobs. She has the responsibility to assist her husband by performing her task as the commander of spiritual support. She was created in a way that enables her to fulfill such a responsibility. This is her mission and role in life. Don't you wish some wise lady had told us all those things before we got married? I mean, we all sort of realise it in a loosely articulated way, I guess. And we read something like this and it reminds us that it was a hard role for some of us, wasn't it? I mean, we learnt by example probably how our mothers did things, certainly how to do housekeeping, things all like that. But, you know, it's a spiritual ammunition that you have. You don't want to waste that unwisely. Okay. And also, we don't really want to get tied up in modern day times where there's, you know, got to be role reversals, you know, and it's almost, it can almost become a sort of an egotistical thing. And I think we need to be careful of that as righteous Gentiles. We need to honour both the male and the female. And they do distinct roles rather well. Better than, because they're built to do those roles. They're made. Their mission on earth is to do certain things. So let's come over here now and come over a bit further now. Now, again, we're getting back to this idea of the husband being the fighter pilot, the woman being the ground support, and each role is important. I want to repeat that. One can't operate without the other, and both have to rely and trust each other. Now, I also want to say that each person is brought down. This is in this book. I'm just paraphrasing here. Each person was brought down to this world to do a unique mission. Neither partner is superior or inferior. A woman's challenge is to stand by her man and help him fulfill his role, where it is possible, of course, we're meaning. This is why the evil inclination is intent upon keeping her from fulfilling her true responsibilities joyfully. You can fulfill your responsibilities and grumble about it, but that's not good enough. You must fulfill your responsibilities, whether it has to be taking the garbage out sometimes or whatever else, but you must be joyful and grateful for that responsibility. Now, that's a hard task for us women. That's a hard one. But that's what it tells us. And it takes some of us to get a lot older to understand and realise this. So, you know, there's lots of things we can say, I wish I knew that sooner. Now, the answer to that would be, well, would you have done anything righteous with it? There's another question, maybe I would have ignored it. Who knows? But never mind. So keeping her responsibilities joyfully, even the responsibilities that are distasteful and, oh, do I have to do that? I don't want to take the garbage out, but I'll have to. We recommend that women read our book called The Garden of Emmuna, which I have just mentioned, to learn how essential happiness with one's lot in life is. A woman who fulfills her role happily is rewarded with unfathomable spiritual accent. Now, let me just, I don't always know the age of people that watch my videos. Some are young women, I know that. Some are older women. Some are older than me. I'm 72 now. But let me tell you also, we do grow with age. Now, there's a reason Hashem instills that too. There are some things that if we were 21 or 25, we wouldn't have had the spiritual ammunition to deal with it, the psychological armament or shields to deal with it. And sometimes we learn through age, and that's fine. So there are some people that say, oh, I cringe when I think about what I did when I was young. Oh, I can never get over that. You know, you talk to God about that. We all make mistakes. Some make bigger mistakes than others. But we cannot continue to wallow in the past, because what you're actually doing is a form of self-pity. Oh, woe is me, I shouldn't have done that. It's because of that I can't do this. No, that happened. You can't take it back or change it. You can speak to Hashem about it and ask for forgiveness and be sincere about it and say, if I'm ever faced with this situation again, I jolly well know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to get around this. That's how we learn. That's part of our growing. And that is what our spiritual ammunition is. It's a spiritual and emotional ammunition. So don't waste it on the stuff that you now can do nothing about. You did it, fess up, say you're sorry, make retribution if it's required, depending on what it was, and get on with the right path that you're on. Don't wallow in your self-pity. You did it. You've paid the price. Get on with it now. Because a whole bucket load of self-pity isn't going to take you anywhere. But a pocket full of spiritual ammunition will. You have that spiritual ammo strapped on and don't waste it. You're going to be fine. And that is something I can say truthfully to you, because age has taught me that. There are things now that when, 30 or so, I would have, had an absolute conniption, I would have, no. And now I think, that's a pest. Never mind, it's done, can't do anything about it, just fix it and move on. So as we get older, we do get wiser. But I would say as we grow wiser with our age and experience, don't get too cocky. Don't think you're absolutely bulletproof, because you're not. But take care of the spiritual ammunition you already have strapped on. Make good use of it. Don't waste it. And think about it. Keep everything recharged within you so that you're able to face what comes your way. You own up when you have to. Say you're sorry when you have to. When you have some problems come on you, try to be grateful and joyful for them. And I know that you're probably thinking, it's easy for her to say that. Well, no, it's not. But I can tell you my age has taught me, when I look back on those things, that I benefited through some of those situations. So not all calamities are bad for us. They're all there to teach us a lesson. And you know what? Remember that we may well be on our second or third visit to this earth, to this world. So let's try and ramp up the goodness of our soul. Let's make our soul joyous. Let's make our soul righteous. And think about that. In the meantime, you take care and God bless.